Well, excuse me. Welcome to episode 23 of Echoes from the Arena. This episode is entitled Different Perspective, parentheses, of the Miracle on Ice, close parentheses, in which we're going to discuss, or Dad, you're going to probably lead this discussion because you have read a book on it, I
Okay.
believe, right?
Right. Yes.
Um,
Yes, I have.
we're going to discuss the Soviet perspective of the Miracle on Ice. Um, and some of the uh, dominoes that eventually fell. What happened to those players? What the hell happened in that game from their perspective? And why they don't have a better coaching staff or had a better coaching staff. But first, we would be remiss if we did not discuss the goings on of the past week at the Olympics. And I would like us to start with the gold medal on the women's side. Their third gold medal, I believe, since they started
Yeah,
ice hockey in
98.
the Winter Olympics
Yeah, not
for
98.
women.
And then two Olympics ago, and then this year.
Yeah,
So three. You're right. Three.
2018 and then 2026. Yes, so
Right.
three.
Right.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I believe we both watched the game.
Yes, we did.
So, much different than the first time they matched up.
Hmm. Yes. Yes.
Uh, Canada had a more jam. They had their best player back, which kind of put them in a better place, I think, probably with their lines. I don't know their lines, but when you get your best player back in the lineup, it
Well, yeah.
slots people
Yeah.
where they're normally used to playing. Um, Great late goal. Seemed like it might be the only way they were going to beat that goaltender up until then
Hmm.
was a screenshot or deflection.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know. I can't say enough about the overtime goal. I think, especially from a defenseman, right?
Yep.
Uh, you know, being able to make a move like that in overtime brings a little bit of a Mayday feel to it.
Right. Right. Well, the nice, I know there's people on both sides talking, especially after the men's game
Mhm.
and the
Which we will get
comments.
to.
Which, yeah, yeah, we'll get to that. But the comments made by John Cooper regarding 3-on-3, and but as you know, watching the game, Maddie, the 3-on-3 is a whole different animal. Okay, it's
Completely
basically
different.
man
You're
on man.
trying to make a 2-on-1 somewhere in the
Hmm.
ice, and you're
Hmm.
waiting for somebody to just take a misstep or slow their speed down to try to find that little edge. And the best players in the world find that they find that gap.
Right,
They
right.
see it and they exploit it.
Once again, it was a heads up pass out of the D zone up the ice, long pass up the ice. Great move, obviously 1-on-1,
Hmm.
and put the puck where it had to be. So just a really really good individual effort on the part of our D man there or D
Megan
woman
Megan
to
Keller.
to, to score, yeah, to score the winner there. Well, very exciting. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
thought it was the culmination of a tournament in which they were the best team.
yes, and I think what we've seen, I was thinking before the show, I think what we've seen now is the fact that uh, Canada used to have our number, even though we used to end up, you know,
Playing them.
being playing them. They usually won up until, this year. I know there were some games this year that I think we're defending world champions. Did we win the worlds
I
last year? I think
don't
we
I
did.
don't know.
And I think this year we definitely have superseded them. I
Yeah,
think we're the number one team in hockey right now.
on the
And
women's side. Hmm.
Canada is, they're an aging team. Some of their best players are retired. So they're in a rebuild process. A very good team. Again, it took us to overtime in the gold medal game,
Uh-huh.
but I just think the American squad is
They were
top of the
top
mountain
to
right
they were
now.
top to they were top to bottom the best team.
Yes, yes.
So in that case, justice was served. Um, uh, in the Olympics. Um, I watched the whole medal ceremony too.
Yeah, yeah, so did I. Yep.
Canadians did not look very happy,
They were not. But
but they were gracious in defeat.
hmm.
Not that I would expect anything different.
Right, right.
Us being from Buffalo, we are a border city, so we have a lot of commerce with Canadians. We run into Canadians all the time. We have
Yeah,
Canadian friends.
yes, yes. So
Um,
fully understand their disappointment. But
yep,
as I say, they usually handle these things with a lot of class. So
at least the women do. Yeah.
yes, at least the women.
So,
Uh,
uh,
um,
I'm going to shut the chapter on that for now. Although I may come back to it in a minute. Um, and let's go to the men's game.
okay,
But I want to break this up into two parts.
okay,
The game itself, and then what happened after the game.
okay, okay.
The game itself was that's what Olympic hockey is supposed to look like if you have NHL players.
Exactly.
The entire both rosters were absolutely loaded. Um, I did think that Team USA's defensive team speed
Hmm.
was not just marginally better than the Canadians' defensive team speed, but
Right,
quite a
right.
bit better. And I thought that in a game in which they were outplayed, really, that combined with a stellar performance from your goaltender is what resulted in
Hmm.
the gold
Yeah,
medal.
yeah.
The early goal that the Americans scored was just a great individual effort.
Right, right. By Boldy. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And we've talked about how I feel about Jordan Binnington. If he's your number one goalie as a country, I think you need to look into investing more in goaltending talent. Because I just don't think he's that good right now. He's not
I
world. I don't think of him as a world class goaltender. I could pick three or the other names before I would even get in the neighborhood of thinking about him.
We have world-class goalies, and I'm going to mention one who's not an American, so obviously he wouldn't be available, or not a Canadian either. But we've talked about it, Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky,
So he is, when you look at his play, and I see it a lot living down in the Tampa area,
hmm
he is definitely an elite world-class goaltender.
and he does it in the playoffs too.
He does it in the playoffs.
Granted, he
Uh,
has a very good team in front of him, but still, like you still have to make the saves. There are still
right,
times in which you're asked to make a big save.
right. Hellebuck, as he played during the tournament, I thought, hey, okay, he's definitely going to be your number one in this tournament because
I didn't. Swayman just didn't
Swayman
have
had a weird night the night
that
he
one
played.
night against, was it
So
Denmark or
yeah,
something?
it was
It was,
Denmark.
and they,
So I concluded that okay, Hellebuck's going to carry this team, and then the team's going to win or lose with the way he plays, and did not expect the elite all-world performance that I saw on Sunday. Uh, Definitely, the reason that we won gold was Hellebuck. I
yes.
mean, the saves he made were incredible.
And
So,
he very few rebounds, and he
hmm.
made an incredible save with his stick
Well, the paddle, yeah.
on a tap in, basically. I do know that McKinnon missed an open net. How often
Hmm.
does that happen?
Yeah, well, they had a lot of misses
But
that.
stress has a funny way of doing things to you.
Plus, let's face it, we saw it for years being Sabre fans
Yeah,
with
with
Hasek.
Hasek.
He would get in people's heads. He would get in players' heads, and a virtual easy shot was missed. And I really think players were so anal about I got to put it exactly here or he's going to stop it. And I
Which
think
was kind of
Hellebuck
right.
was getting into the head
Well, I
of
was thinking
the Canadian
I
players.
was talking to some buddies of mine after the game, and we're all of the consensus that Hasek 98 is that's the gold standard.
hmm
It can't
hmm
be touched.
Right, right.
And Hellebuck's play was just below that.
Yeah, exactly. It
And
was
that's as good as
amazing.
you're going to get because you're never going to get prime Hashik with a team that's talented, but not the Canadian team of 98 that had
Right,
Gretzky on it and just pull up the roster
right, right,
and him stonewalling them in the gold medal game to bring the Czech Republic at the time the
right,
gold medal. I think
right.
that's the absolute
Yeah,
gold standard. That whole tournament, he was absurd. It was ridiculous. And I remember when you were still living here, when he came
yeah,
back with the gold
yeah,
medal, people were
yeah,
greeting him at the airport. People were
yeah,
showing up at the
exactly.
airport like he won a gold medal for
I
us.
think, weren't we at a game shortly after that where they honored him?
Hmm.
Might have been his first game back,
Yeah, I think it was his first game back.
because that was just an amazing display. Well, it was a good example where,
That's an example of how good he could be. And when he played here, he was that good for the majority of the time. I would almost say the vast majority of the time. We've I know we've gone through, and I know we're going off on a little bit of a tangent here on Dominic Hasek, but bear with us, please. I know we've looked up his stats, and his save percentage is just ridiculous. And his
right.
career save percentage is higher than a lot of starting goaltenders' save percentage this year.
Yeah.
And he played a long time, right? He
hmm
played into his 40s.
Because he was with the Blackhawks and then traded to the Sabres and
Was here
then
for a
went on
long
to the
time, then
Wings.
went to the Wings, won a
Did he win a
cup.
Stanley Cup with the Wings?
Uh-huh. And then ended up with Ottawa eventually.
Okay, I don't remember that. Okay. Okay. So yeah, he played well into his 40s. He was one of those lucky few that have both a gold medal and a Stanley Cup to their
Yeah,
name.
it's
So
very few, not that many guys have that.
not too many, not too many at all.
Mm-mm.
The more
And
impressive,
and
just
hit hold on.
yeah,
And when he stopped playing in the NHL, he didn't stop playing professional hockey.
right. Oh,
He
exactly.
went back to Europe
Exactly.
and kept
He,
playing.
he played in the Czech Republic, I believe.
Hmm.
I was
It
just
might
going
have
to
been
say
that or
more,
the Austrian league, or but something. Yeah, it was something
right.
like.
I was just going to say more impressive was the fact that Kenny Morrow, who we're going to be talking about his team,
Hmm.
Kenny Morrow won a gold with the 1980 team, and then later that year won the Stanley Cup with the Islanders. So that
Doing
was
it in
kind
the
of
same
impressive.
year.
Same year, within a
That's
few months of each other.
yeah.
So that was more
Well,
impressive
depending on who
by that math.
comes out of the East and the West, you might have more players.
You might, you
But
very much might
we've
have.
only won three gold medals
Yep.
in the
hmm
entirety of men's hockey. So the women have done it three times since 1998.
60, 80, and 2026.
Yes. 60 was Squaw Valley, right?
60 was Squaw Valley, yes.
80 is Lake Placid.
Yep.
I have a really weird recall of where Olympics are or
Yeah,
were.
so do I. Well,
I
I'm a Olympic junkie, you know that. So
I mean, I can go on the winter side, I can go back. I might even be able to go back further than that. But anyway, I don't need to show off or anything.
then
That's not the kind of person I am.
one family
Three.
has three gold medals.
Yeah. So
Um,
Dave
the,
Christian.
the two Christians,
Yep.
and
And
then
was it Bill Christian, the other one?
yeah, yeah,
One
Eh,
was so one was his grandfather, the other was his uncle, and
yeah.
It was Brock Nelson, and then
Brock Nelson, yeah.
he so three generations, three gold medals in the same sport.
Same sport, yeah. Which
Yeah.
is that's interesting. That's an
I
interesting.
guess it's not that interesting if that's what they're good at and they have
Well, they're
kids,
definitely
then
good
their
at
kids will
that,
be
and
good at that.
but it's it's unique that they were able to do that. The three generations.
Um, the goal itself, the golden goal, um, I gotta stop saying uh I as I go and do it immediately right after that. I thought that was a really dangerous play that was made
Yeah. Right.
because if you miss that puck, it's a 2-0 going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those players is McDavid,
Right. Yeah.
right? And the other one I think was Celebrini.
Yes, Celebrini was on the
So
ice
with McDavid and Celebrini, and if you don't get to that puck, if you are racing Connor McDavid to that puck, and if you don't get to that puck,
because I believe Celebrini did
or
he didn't
maybe he
he
was racing Celebrini to
either
the
he
puck.
had the puck he did he have the
He
puck
didn't
in
have
the
it
or did he
in the.
was there
It
a
was
shot
in the.
taken there? Did
No, it
Hellebuck make
was
a save?
a save was made, and I think, or there was a turnover, and the puck was sitting there right near the blue line in the
Right.
United States defensive end.
Yes.
And I don't know who the player was that made the play, but they were able to make a poke at the puck and push it down the ice.
Yeah, that was Jack Hughes.
Okay, that was Hughes. All
So
right, so
Hughes
he
pushed it down the
he gets
ice.
to the puck first,
Hmm.
pushes it down the ice. I see Werenski and
Larkin.
McKinnon.
Well, McKinnon was on the ice too, but Larkin was the other American player on the ice.
No, but I'm talking about who was
Right, McKinnon.
racing
Yeah.
for the puck. So it was
Right.
McKinnon and Werenski, and it looked like McKinnon was going to get to it first,
Hmm.
but he didn't take the body.
Right. Right.
Werenski takes the body, gets possession of the puck. Hughes is racing down the ice, beats the two Canadian back checkers back, has a shot one-on-one with the goaltender, and slides it because that's where most of your goals come from, by the way, folks, on the
Hmm.
ice.
But as you said, Jack Hughes was astute enough to come to foul the play and then break to the weak side where he was
Mhm.
wide open.
Yeah.
There was your 3-on-3 got
But that's
your
they're
your
not
man on
even
man got totally discombobulated.
yeah, they're not
Well,
they're not even thinking that. That's all
yeah,
muscle memory at that point.
right. But as you say, if we missed that shot, it might have come the other way, and we would have another odd man rush going our way. So
If we
yeah.
miss the shot, if the shot misses the net, that's the worst case
Hmm.
scenario because then you probably only have one guy back.
Right. Yeah. That
So, and this is where I get aggravated, is I would like to just stop talking about the game there,
right.
but I can't because there was some fucking asshattery after the game. And I am really sick and tired of not being able to enjoy anything,
Hmm. Hmm.
but uh, the players also need to understand the situation.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they're not so young that they don't understand the situation, or they
Right.
not that they can't comprehend it. They're old enough to comprehend it.
Right. Right.
What the fuck is the FBI director doing in the locker room? And the answer to that is he was invited in by the general manager. The general manager is
It was
Bill Guerin.
Bill Guerin. Yeah.
Bill Guerin is the general manager of the Minnesota Wild. Dad, where do the Minnesota Wild play? What city?
Minnesota, St. Paul,
St. Paul, Minneapolis?
Minneapolis area.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's been some shit going on there.
Hmm.
And that hasn't happened in any other presidency.
Right.
But there is
Right.
some nefarious shit going on down there in which several people have lost their lives in the city of the team that you're the general manager for.
Right.
The handpicked loser, who's the FBI director, you invite him in and basically allow them to hijack your celebration.
Hmm.
I disappointed is the wrong word because it's not strong enough.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
wearing a USA Hockey
Yeah. I gotta find my
uh,
scarf.
scarf, but I am colossally disappointed to the point where disappointment is not a word that I feel like I should be using. Disgusted
Right.
is a better
Right.
word.
Right.
At Guerin putting everyone in that position by inviting him in to begin with.
Right.
And then I understand that there's a party going on there and it's like it almost doesn't matter who the fuck walks in, right?
Right. Right.
But after the fact, then going to the State of the Union yesterday,
Hmm.
and allowing yourself to be used as pawns in this some political game
Right. Right.
is just it's beyond the pale. It would be not acceptable at any other time because it's not like they were just bringing them there to like, hey, let's celebrate this.
Hmm.
It felt like a them being there was tantamount to them being okay with the policies that are hurting our communities right now.
Right. Right.
And in such a charged atmosphere, it would have been very wise of them to politely decline. And there's games on tonight. The Sabres are actually playing right now.
Yeah, Tage Thompson's on the TV right now. He's
Yeah.
there. As is
Well, he was in
probably,
Washington last night.
yeah.
So I hope he's not too fucking tired. But I, between that, which disgusted me, and then the way that the president spoke about the women's team was disgusting. Um,
That's right. Jack Hughes is on the ice tonight too.
mhm.
He's right
Um,
there.
and it's both disgusting and so um aggravating that I can't all we wanted to do is really just enjoy the fucking gold medal that we haven't
Hmm.
seen in 46 years. But it's
Right.
got to get
Right.
hijacked by somebody who needs press that is anything other than the press that he doesn't want to hear.
Right.
And man, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this? Because I could throw
I
something.
think you covered it pretty much. I just remember of the ilk, and I would not. And again, it might have happened in other sports, but I just don't see that happening like in a after a Super Bowl in the winning locker room. I think it's team and staff and coaches. I think that's the proper way to do it.
What
I
the
just
fuck
think
is Bill Guerin thinking
I
doing
just
that?
think Garen was out of line when he did that. I just don't think you bring anybody in. I don't care who it is. I mean, it's time for this team to celebrate their accomplishments. And I don't think, and now they're
The only
embroiled
person
in
you bring in
something
there
else.
is, I think, if the opposing coach wants to say a few words, you
Right.
allow
Yeah.
that. But no one else. Stay the fuck
Right.
out. Everyone's got a fucking camera. You're gonna get plenty of videos.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I know. I know.
But Garen with a just absolutely stupefying decision that is insulting to, well, frankly, the players should be insulted.
Hmm.
They're probably
Hmm.
not, which is a problem. But I also know that I'm not going to politically align with every person that I root for on
Right.
a sports
Right.
team. But I'd like to know that we're all reasonable people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Garen's actions, because of where he works, disgust me.
Right.
Absolutely disgust me. I'm a thousandaire, so I'm not owning a hockey team. But if he were my GM, he would be fucking fired the second he set foot on that tarmac back in Minneapolis. You're talking about the community that comes to support you
Yeah.
as an athletic franchise
Hmm.
in one of the four major sports leagues in this country.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So to that, I say, what the fuck? This is going to be, this won't be child friendly. And then, I don't know, them showing up at the State of the Union. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I really don't. I don't. I just think, they were probably in a position that was probably something that they felt they needed to do. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I just don't think they should have been put on the spot in the first place.
Yeah. Uh,
I don't think you needed to invite them to the White House immediately anyway. I mean, you could have waited to after the season, but because they did have games to play tonight,
yeah.
and
You
and
don't
the
need to
women had
invite him to the
academic
State of the
commitments.
Union,
But
but you underhandedly ask the women after it already comes out that you basically made fun of them.
yeah, yeah.
I just I I could throw something. It's just not right, and it's not how I was raised.
Right.
And you should know because you raised me.
Hmm. Yep. I hear you. And even Jack Hughes made a comment. I know because I was his mom is their what the women's player development consultant.
Hmm.
She herself played well. She was on the national team in the 90s prior to them playing in the
Them
Olympics. So
playing in the Olympics.
she never
Hmm.
got the opportunity to play at the Olympics. But
So shouldn't they know better?
yeah, I think they do. I think they were just put into a very awkward position.
And
Um,
Quinn Hughes plays in Minneapolis, St.
I
Paul.
know.
So that's your community once
Yeah,
again. And it's like, Jack Hughes can talk about inclusivity and shit, but the spotlight that you just got thrown on yourself that you didn't react very well in, I think makes some people call that into question.
yeah,
And A, that's too bad if that's how you really feel, but you really need to speak out. And it's kind of a responsibility that gets saddled on you when you
right.
become a star. Whether you like it or not, that's the responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I've done a lot of talking.
We ready to segue into our in another direction tonight?
Do you you don't want to keep talking about the State of the Union?
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's time to talk about 1980 again.
All right.
Stepping
We're
back.
gonna jump back into the time machine. The flux capacitor is fully charged. It's
Hmm.
full of garbage. So we're setting the date for, help me with this, Dad. It was whatever the day of the gold
Oh,
medal
it
game
was
was.
February 22nd,
February
1980.
22nd, 1980.
Hmm.
The I will try to paint a picture for you, having been to Lake Placid several times now.
Okay, yep.
You're in a small, I would almost say like a little hamlet,
Hmm. Yeah.
nestled
Village,
around
yeah.
the Adirondack Mountains. Yeah, it's a village.
It's a village, yeah.
Uh, Nestled in the Adirondack Mountains, um, next to Mirror Lake, which at this time of year would be ripe for skiing, dog sledding,
Well,
all
the lake would
sorts
be
of
perfect for pond hockey. It
perfect
would
for
be a
pond
pond
hockey.
hockey heaven out there
Yes,
right
it's
now.
Mirror. It's called Mirror Lake for a reason. That the water is crystal clear. Um, and across the street from the lake is what is now the 1980 arena. I don't know what it was called back then, but uh, I would say standing room only for the Soviet Union versus the United States in the semifinals. Some people think that that was the finals. That was not the
Right, right.
finals.
Nope.
The semifinals of the men's hockey tournament in the 1980 Olympic Games at Lake Placid, New York, which also served the 1932 games, and personally, I think could do it again.
Well, I think with the new model, I know we're getting off a tangent now, but with the Italians doing
They've already had this before, haven't they?
what's that?
It was in
The
Cortina
model?
before.
It was in Cortina. Yeah, it was in Cortina in the 50s, but it
Yeah.
was in the 50s was more or less self-contained. So every event was in Cortina
Oh,
and Bormio, which is where the downhill skiing facility is.
right.
But this Olympics, they opted to put the hockey, the figure skating in Milan, and
Hmm.
then it's a good trip. It's about I want to say it's close to 100 miles, I think, to get up to Cortina and the Alpine area.
Hmm.
But I think I can kind of see the same is going to happen in the next Winter Olympics, which is in the French Alps.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to choose
Where it's not,
multiple
they're
areas.
not choosing cities. It's like they're
Right.
choosing regions
The
now.
regions. Yeah, exactly.
So we could see an Olympic Games at
So
Adirondack, New York.
exactly, because
You have you
you
have the things you need.
you
You
could do
need to
your
have a bobsled run,
right,
right?
right.
You
Yeah.
can't not have a bobsled run because the bobsled and the luge and the skeleton still need to happen. And they have one in Lake Placid. One of the
I mean, you
few.
got the rink and everything under there, but you could still do you could do the hockey and the figure skating in Albany,
Yeah.
and then you do your obviously like you said, you do your bobsleds, you do your so all the sliding events, you do your cross country, you do your downhill skiing up in Lake Placid.
Mm.
So
I mean, they might need to do a little
well,
infrastructure
they would do
and
yeah, they would
maybe build a few more rinks even.
I know they built a new sliding center
Mm.
where the bobsled and the luge and the skeleton events are contested. That's like state of the art. I haven't
Well,
seen it yet
that's
because they built it right before the pandemic.
no, that's I mean,
But
that's
we
half
have,
the battle right there. So they must have ski jumps somewhere.
I think they would have to do it inside because their speed skating is outside.
Yeah,
Now, it's quaint. I skated on it. It's kind of neat, but
it's pretty cool.
I think they would probably need to build a indoor speed
But
skating
that would
facility.
also open up opportunities for aspiring Olympians, people who are training.
Hmm.
There's only so many Olympic training centers around the country.
There's three, right?
There's three,
There's
at
Salt Lake.
least, well, there's three as of when I was in grad school, which was now, fuck, 17, 16, 17 years ago. There was Colorado Springs. There was Lake Placid, and then there was someplace out in California that I think was for skiing, really.
The Squaw Valley. Was it out
Might
there?
be, I don't know.
But
Um,
they have those
but the
facilities
big
in
deal with Colorado Springs is
oh,
it had the only indoor velodrome in the Western Hemisphere.
well,
And you either need to have one, a velodrome is for indoor cycling,
hmm.
or you need to build one. And they're kind of very specific. Like, if you build that, you're not really using it for anything else,
Right, right.
you know? So, let's get into what we were going to discuss. So, we got off on a tangent after I tried to paint a picture of a uh, quaint but now bustling uh, little village in upstate New York called Lake Placid. But the hottest show in town would be the game between the Soviets and the Americans.
Right.
We have all been told the story of the Miracle on Ice or seen the movie. Those of us who are or were USA Hockey members. I was a USA Hockey member for several years, played hockey for 13 years. Um,
Yep.
but we've all been regaled with tales of the 1980 team and kind of seen it on the big screen as well. So we
Right,
have
right,
I would say, a decent handle on the game and how big of a impact it made in the country at
right,
the
right.
time. Um, but we're going to take a little bit of a different tact here, right?
Yeah,
We're going to look at it from the Soviet side
right, right,
because here you have um, one of well, the the best team in the world, basically. You have the Americans playing with college age players who are in college,
right.
and the Soviets are playing with grown men,
Hmm.
professional players, basically.
Right, right.
The only reason they're not allowed to play professionally is because they were in the Soviet army. They're
Hmm.
technically officers in the army.
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
take it away from there, Dad.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just do one little blurb, and then I'm gonna get into this. And the only reason I'm doing a I'm gonna go on a little tangent
Good, because I'm sick of talking.
was because you might enjoy this. So as I was preparing for this show today, I
Mhm.
was going through Facebook and came across a recent, it might have been done today or it might have done I think it was done. It had to be done in the last few days because they were talking about the men's team and the gold medal. But Julian Edelman, I don't know if you saw his podcast. So
I've only seen clips. I've never listened
Julian
to him.
Edelman was interviewing Jim Craig,
The goaltender
and
for the
they
1980. For
exactly,
those that don't know, he was the American goalie.
and they were wow. To also make a note because I watched the game live. I was fortunate. We were fortunate enough, like you said earlier, to be living near the border of the U.S. and Canada. So I was actually
You
watching the
probably watched
game.
on CBC, right?
I was watching on CBC as it happened.
Because it was tape delayed in the
Um,
States.
yes,
Despite
Bob
the fact
Cole.
that's in the exact time zone that you're
I know.
currently in.
It was I think Bob Cole. I don't know who was doing the color for CBC in those days, but so I watched the game as it unfolded,
Hmm.
and Hellebuck's performance the other day mirrored Jim Craig's performance. I do believe Jim Craig had to face more shots,
I think he did.
but it was incredible. But anyway, uh,
And the team in front of him was much worse.
exactly. Now you saw the movie Miracle.
Several times.
I'm always curious about the Kurt Russell speech, Herb
Mhm.
Brooks speech right before they took the ice.
This is your time.
Is this Hollywood or is this true? Jim Craig said it's very accurate. It's pretty much right on, he said, what Herb Brooks said. And if you listen to the speech, he never said you're going to win the game. He said, if you do what we've prepared to do, we can shut them down. And if we
Make
can
them
shut
play
them
your
down,
game. Make
we're
them
going to
play your
win.
game.
If
Yes.
we can shut them down. So he was but Craig was very pinpoint regarding Herb Brooks, and we all know this. Herb Brooks was a master psychologist, sports
Herb Brooks,
psychologist. He
also, let me
was,
jump in right here. Herb Brooks
yeah,
was the coach of the 1980 U.S. men's hockey team.
yes, exactly, yeah,
Unfortunately, passed away right before Miracle was released in a car accident, I believe.
yeah. Was in Minnesota, I think,
Yeah.
where he lived. I don't even.
So he
Was
did
he
not get to
coaching at the
see it.
time? Was he
I
coaching
think
anybody at the time?
he had stopped coaching. I
Because he
think
had
he
coached the
had been coaching.
Rangers,
Yeah.
yeah, and
So, but
men's.
anyway, we're going to pivot here because we know
Yes,
a lot about the American stuff, but what happened on the Soviet side?
yeah. We're going
How
to
did
look
a
at.
team full of stars with the best goaltender in the world?
Okay, I'm going to just
Yeah, I
going
don't want to
to
step on anything here,
I'm
but
going to run some stats here, or I'm going to run
okay.
some. Okay, so the Russian hockey team won gold in 64, 68, 72, 76. Then comes 1980.
So
So
they've just gone
obviously,
off on several.
yes, they were the defending world champions. So
And
they come.
they weren't also, correct me if I'm wrong on this, they weren't like beating teams 3-2.
No, they were
They were
beating teams
crushing teams.
bad. I was when I went into the watch the game, I was just hoping we could stay close or something quirky might happen. And we did. I mean, we did stay close.
Can I ask you a question actually that I think will help
Yeah.
to identify the talent that the Soviet team had? The Canada Cup. What was that big Canada Cup year? 72?
I believe it was 72 because it's right here that they did dominate the Canada Cup that year.
Which is playing against
NHL
NHL
stars.
stars. Now they would go on to lose later Canada Cups,
Right.
but
Right.
for the most part, there was back and forth there. Like those Canada Cups would be multiple games. I think it could go to 7 games, and they went to 7 games on occasion.
Right. Right.
So they were competitive against a team of NHL All-Stars.
Right. Right.
So sorry, continue.
No, it's fine. I'm just looking at the roster real quick. Okay. We'll get to the roster in a bit,
Hmm.
but I'm going to talk a little bit about their approach to the game, a little different. Well, this is the interesting fact. If you watch them play in 1970 or 1980,
Uh-huh.
and you watch and I'm using it because I've seen him play a lot this year. If you watch the Buffalo Sabres play the offensive zone, where they're getting the defense involved, where the def
Activated defense. Yep.
exactly, and they're cycling, and the defense is going down low, and that other player, that forward, knows he's got to come up high in
Hmm.
case there's a breakout going the other way. So you're kind of seeing, so that's what you're seeing now in the NHL. Make a note, 2026. Now, we've done it, other teams have done it before. I'm not saying it's something that's radically new, but you go back to 1980, you see the Soviets play. That's the way they play. And they play that way because they, Victor Tikkanen, the coach
Hmm.
of the Soviet team, which I don't want to give him tons of credit, but he did come up with this idea that instead of, now you played hockey, Maddie, we all played
Well,
hockey.
pretty
And you know,
poorly, might I add, but yeah.
yeah, uh, over
Yeah,
here, North
thanks for
America,
agreeing with it.
over here in North America, you had um, you usually, defensemen change separately from the forward lines.
Hmm.
Okay, so you're
You have
making
separate
changes that way,
coaches. Yep.
and you have separate coaches. Okay, so the Soviet system of 1980 and prior and a little after, they were five-man units. So
So they would change
the
five man.
defensemen and the wingers were basically a unit, and they would be on the ice together. They would change together. Obviously, not all at once if they're changing on the fly, but certainly if there's a stoppage in play,
Hmm.
five men off, five men on. And they practice together. They practice
Mm.
unit. So kind of an interesting take. They were so good that they were able to pretty much, they could close their eyes and they would know where players
Where a
were.
player or somebody was.
So
Yeah.
that kind of gave them that, I think that added, you know,
That little bit extra.
that extra. Yeah. They
Well, also, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. We think about these all-star teams that get thrown together, like what happened at the Olympics, and it's like, okay, these guys have had what, three practices together before
hmm
they're
hmm
the Soviet Red Army team was the opposite of that.
Right. Right.
They that was their job,
Right.
and they practiced together every day. So building those connections with your line mates
hmm
was a lot easier when you're doing it full time as opposed
Right.
to, here, boom, here's a tournament right in the middle of the season.
Right. Right. And again, their pass, they were impeccable passers. Their passes they were short, tape to tape. Puck wasn't on sticks a lot. You wouldn't see guys make, full ice rushes and stuff. It was
Mm-mm.
basically tic-tac-toe, uh, keep the defense guessing, keep the defense moving, try to break down the defense.
And then
So,
in doing so, cycling.
yeah, cycling, try to create that 2-on-1 down low,
Hmm.
stuff like that. They get in that shooter's triangle.
And I want to be
And
sensitive to those that aren't familiar with what cycling is. In this case, it has nothing to do with the Tour de France, but it's the idea that you have a forward in front of the net, you have a forward down low, and you have a forward on the wing. And in the offensive zone, you keep cycling the puck down low, down low, down low until you find that gap in the defense where maybe a guy beats his man after he cycles, he cuts to the net. So, uh, seeing the Soviets play it, it's like a ballet on ice,
right, right, right.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So to move on, anyway, I think we all know the way the game ends. There's these dramatic two goals scored by the Americans in the third
Third
period.
period.
We hang on for dear life. And to use an old hockey term, it's Katie bar the door because they're just taking shots from everywhere.
Well, I call it try
Um,
to get the car in the garage. Get that in the
exactly.
garage.
I'm looking at the picture, the segment that you have of Mike Ramsey chucking Carmel off into the boards, and
Is that Victor Karmalov?
it was Valerie
Valerie
Karmel.
Karmalov, yes.
Valerie, and it was a very physical game. A lot of a lot of contact along the boards. Those last few minutes that seemed like an hour to
Hmm.
me. I remember when it got to the 10-minute mark of the third period, I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be like an eternity because the pretty much the entire 10 minutes they were in the U.S. zone,
Mhm.
just taking shots from everywhere. And but the U.S., they were able to get the puck out enough to, short shifts, 30, 35-second shifts. They were staying fresh,
Mhm.
and they just did a remarkable job. Jim Craig stood on his head to make saves.
They did have
But
a very good later a very good NHL defenseman on that team, Mike Ramsey,
yep, and Ken
who,
Morrill. So both were very successful
but they were
in the league.
college students at the time,
Yeah, at the time,
so
yeah.
they were
I think
not.
Kenny Morrill, Bowling Green, uh,
So,
Ramsey, Minnesota.
so we have the Soviets are bombarding us. The game ends. The
Do you
miracle on
believe
ice
in
happens. Do you believe
miracles?
in
Yes.
miracles? Blah blah blah. Um,
Okay,
then
so
there's a lot of yeah. Well, go with what you're gonna say, and
well,
then
there's a
I'll
lot of
chime in.
I think the first controversy, and I'm going through. First off, I want to say the general theme in the Soviet Union was that no big deal. They kind of downplayed it and maybe rightly so,
Well,
because
as that as they would because they
yeah,
downplayed Chernobyl too, but
well,
that's
right, but
uh,
they basically said, and they even interviewed the players, some of the players in the year 2000, and they said the same thing that it was downplayed by the media. They did show the highlights, or in their situation, the lowlights, and it was a loss, but they took it as instructional that it was because they went back or came back and won the gold in 84 and 88. So it was, it was a bump on the road. And so it was downplayed in the Soviet Union. Some of the controversies that arose
that's what I wanted to get
was
into, and I was hoping you were gonna touch on this.
yeah. So at the end of the first period,
Hmm.
Mark Johnson took off. We thought the period was over, basically, and with very little time remaining, I think it was fractions of a second.
Fractions of a second, I believe. He
He
scores.
he hustled, yeah,
Hmm.
scored. Did that tie the game? Things are getting cloudy here. But I think it
Not
tied the
important.
game. I think it tied the game. But
Okay.
so they go off after the first period,
Hmm.
and they come out in the for the second period, and the best goalie in the world,
Who is Vladislav
Tretiak,
Tretiak?
is on the bench,
Hmm.
and Mishkin, his backup, which even though Ken Dryden made a
Is
comment
pretty
about
good.
it, Mishkin could be a top goalie anywhere else. He just happened to be
He
backing up.
worked as a coach in Russia, including with CSK Moscow and the national team
Who's that?
later on.
Michigan? Okay.
Michigan.
Yeah. But anyway,
I have some notes over here myself, but
okay. But anyway, why are we making a change? Well, the game's 1-1
why are
or
you taking
whatever.
the best goalie
Or
in the world out of the game?
yes.
You're biting off your nose to spite your face in that instance, it seems like.
So I did some research,
Hmm.
and really, according to what players said after the fact, they weren't that concerned about it. They trusted their system. And they really weren't that concerned. Tretiak, I don't know what was going on in his head. I'm sure he was disappointed. I don't know exactly what his relationship was with Tikhonov.
Tikhonov being the moron
Yeah, Tikhonov
coach
was a
of
weird
the
guy. He was
Soviet Union.
a very Politburo type guy.
Mhm.
Took over for Tarasov, who was the father of Soviet hockey. But
Developed the system that led them
yes,
to several Olympic gold medals in a row. This
exactly.
freaking autofocus is
So not a
stupid.
lot of but I think that again, I think the theme was it wasn't a it wasn't let's trash the system and we got to find out what went on here. It was basically we lost the game, bump in the road. We're going to learn from it and move on, which they did do. So, but I was looking at the roster, and we thought when we were talking before, a few weeks ago, Maddie, I
Hmm.
thought some other players were on the team and they weren't. The only player on this particular team, the 1980 team,
Hmm.
was Fetisov, who made
I
it to the
think
NHL.
There's somebody else that we both missed
Okay. Let me
because
get to
I
the
have a list
roster.
here.
Oh, dear. Okay. Let me get to the
Yeah,
roster. Because I had the roster here. And whenever I need to find something on this phone, I can't find it.
it's a good pod.
I know. But let me see if I can find it. Come on.
Uh, there's a player that we missed that was
Okay.
on that team that played in the NHL for quite some time that just didn't play for the Red Wings.
Right,
Therefore,
right.
we missed him.
Well, you got the list there because for some reason
I do.
I can't find
I
my
do.
roster now. I have my
Let me
roster.
start with
Oh, here, I got it now.
I got the names and notable post-career roles.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
So Victor Tikhonov was the head coach. He would be the one responsible for pulling the greatest goaltender in the world at the time. He did coach the USSR to multiple gold medals, known for strict discipline. He was a disciplinarian, passed away in 2014. Assistant coach Vladimir Yurzinov later coached in Finland and Russia and is inducted into the IIHF Hall of Fame.
Well,
Um, the guy that we missed, Sergei Makarov, played in the NHL for the Flames, Sharks, and Stars.
oh, okay.
He was number 32, I think.
Okay.
I
Okay.
remember him. Won the Calder Trophy for best rookie at the age of 31 because
Okay.
that's when he made it into the NHL first.
Right.
Later coached and worked in Russian hockey. Valery Karlamov, and this is an unfortunate situation, tragically died in a car accident in 1981.
Hmm.
Remained a Soviet icon, hockey icon. I really hope that that was not on purpose.
Well, what I saw or what I was able to glean as far as research wise,
Hmm.
like you say, it happened in August of 1981. It happened. I can't pronounce the name of the town. It was outside Moscow.
Oh, I'm
He
sure
was
I could pronounce it.
he was driving a Volga sedan. Well, he was not driving. His wife was driving. They were driving a Volga sedan.
Hmm.
His wife's name was Irina. Um, him, his wife, and her cousin all died in the accident. It was, according to the official report, it lost control on a wet highway. The car collided with a truck. Okay. He did have a
Hmm.
prior accident. There was a prior incident. This is kind of, I think, where the conspiracy theories start to take
Well,
hold.
it's just that in the
And it is the Soviet Union.
Soviet
Yes.
Union, I believe we can talk about a coach that would later
Hmm.
suddenly be found or not found, it suddenly goes missing.
Right. So in 1976, he survived a serious car accident,
Hmm.
Karmol, that is,
Yeah,
that nearly ended his career. So he had to do,
a lot of
major
PT.
rehabilitation.
Hmm.
He After that, he was beginning to develop tension, they say, with Tikhonov over conditioning and readiness.
Hmm.
So two major car crashes within 5 years contributed to the conspiracy theory. The Yeah, but there's no evidence of anything that was
Nefarious.
nefarious. And it was
Hmm.
basically unfortunate. He was a victim of
It's
two car crashes. The second one killed him.
just
So,
awfully interesting that it happened the year after they lost to
right.
the Americans.
So then two players, the player you mentioned earlier and
Sergei
Fetisov,
Makarov and Vladislav
both
Fetisov.
uh, both played and had stellar careers in the NHL.
There's actually another guy. There's a couple other guys who played in the NHL actually. Um, but those two, the two that we named, I think were probably the biggest names or and had the longest careers. Because I know Fetisov played into his 40s, I think,
Oh yeah, yeah,
as a
played with the
defenseman.
Devils. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know and then the player we were talking about when we were speaking about this, when we were putting together this show, Larry Aronoff
Larionov.
did play, I believe, in the next Olympics, and then another one
Okay.
beyond
So
that.
he
So
would have been,
he was on this
he
team,
was
that
in the Red
line.
Army team.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
But and
um,
Maltsev was the captain, I believe, of that team.
the '80 Soviet team.
Yes. And
Oh,
he
for some
is,
reason I
was
thought it
it
was
Maltsev or was it Mihailov?
it's Mikhailov.
Mikhailov, Boris Mihailov, yeah.
Yep.
It's funny because I pulled up, research wise, who passed away,
Hmm.
and we already mentioned Karmelov,
Hmm.
Petrov, but then there's, I don't know if I don't know how accurate this is because you Boris Mikhailov, and it says correction, still living, as of the latest public records. Okay. Also
Somebody,
living was
I mean,
Maltsev.
maybe
So
somebody was dicking around with the
I
Wikipedia.
know.
Well, maybe we
But
need better sources than that for that
and
sort of thing.
obvious and both goalies are still alive and well. And Tikhonov kicked the bucket in 2014. So
Yeah.
there you go. Um,
Tretiak went on to serve as a goaltending coach for the Blackhawks. But for those that didn't go on to play in the NHL, we mentioned Vyacheslav Fetisov, who was a star defenseman for that team, went on to play for the Devils and the Red Wings. Alexei Kasatonov played in the NHL for the Devils, Ducks, Blues, and Bruins. Later coached and worked in the Russian hockey administration. Um, Sergei Starikov played for the Devils, later coached in Russia and the United States. And Helmut Balderas
I
briefly
remember
played for
about
the
Darius, yes.
Minnesota North Stars, later coached Latvia's national team.
Huh.
So that's interesting that when the wall fell, then he
Yeah.
went back to
Yeah.
his home area, which happened to not be in Russia. And then I obviously I'd mentioned Makarov. Um, yeah, so from their side, it it's interesting to hear how it was perceived in the Soviet Union, but I
Hmm.
wondered the accuracy of that because it's hard to believe anything that came out of the Soviet
Yeah.
Union.
Well, that's something we'll probably never know, um, but
Now, the
well,
documentary you watched,
yes, there was a
I would
document.
think had tell me a little bit about, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the documentary was Fetisov and his daughter,
Hmm.
where they were talking. I think he was speaking to her about you know, the game and the loss and what have you. And yeah, even he, you kind of read when he was talking about it, there was a little disappointment there, but he didn't really uh, put too much into it. I think basically what was mentioned in the documentary was pretty much what I found, that it was not a big deal in the Soviet Union. But the documentary also added, Karmelov's crash and his death.
Hmm.
And if I remember correctly, Fetisov wasn't totally convinced that it was a accident.
Accident.
But he kind of mentioned that. Well,
Well,
he didn't
that's
mention it
why
so many words, but if you read between the lines, I think there was some inkling there that I don't know. I do know he's back in the Soviet Union now, and
I like how you're calling it the Soviet
or
Union.
in Russia.
Well,
Still,
let's just call it the Soviet Union.
it's still a Soviet Union in
Yes,
my
he
book.
played in the
Uh,
NHL for the Devils, Red Wings, won two Stanley Cups, became a Russian senator and minister of sport, advocated for environmental causes.
right, right. So he's back in Russia, and he's alive and well.
So,
And
well, as of this taping of the show, we think so.
yes, as long as he stays on, or stays away from Putin.
But there was something else I wanted to touch on. Oh, not to get like too deep into this. And when I say deep, I mean deep. Um, when you watched and what was the name of the documentary?
That I know I would have to search. I
Well, I'll
don't
have to let's
recall it.
look it up so I can put
I
it in the show
think it
notes.
was, yeah, I think it might have been, I don't think it was a 30 for 30. I don't think it was an
Okay.
ESPN production.
All right. We'll have to
It was
find
very
it and put it in the
interesting
show notes so
because
that people can check it out if they want.
yeah,
but I was wondering if their view on the result of that game, despite obviously wanting to crush all their opponents,
Right.
says a little bit about maybe like Eastern philosophy.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
just not taking it as serious,
Right. Right.
or have a way to make peace with it better than, for instance, I can.
Right.
13 seconds.
Right.
Did you have anything else on the Soviet national team?
Well, that's about it. But I think what you just brought up about the philosophy, um,
I
I
mean,
just think,
everything's so westernized now, it's hard to tell,
yeah, but
but
I just think they were so well, again, doing the research for this, I just think they were so well prepared, obviously well trained.
that,
Like you said earlier, they were really in reality a professional team because they were together constantly. When they weren't playing hockey in the winter, they were playing soccer in the summer.
mhm.
So they stayed together. Being who they are, they were, I guess, if you
And
want to
once
use the
again,
term,
these teams went and beat NHL All-Star teams
they beat
in games in which the NHL players were trying to win, not like an All-Star game now where it's like
right.
a circus. No, Canada Cup especially, which was
Well, it's highly
Canada versus the
contested. Yes,
Soviet Union. There
yeah, it
were
was highly
fights.
contested
There were fights. There were brawls, I think, if I
because I remember there
uh,
were two teams
read
that came
correctly.
over in the 70s,
Hmm.
and they were the Soviet Wings team
Hmm.
and the Soviet Army team. And the Wings team played the Sabres and a few other teams, and the Sabres actually
Beat the shit out of them.
beat them pretty badly. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Soviet Red Army, however, um,
different
they were
animal.
different. They were a different animal. They were. I don't think they lost many games.
They
They
weren't
were
putting good players on both teams. The
right,
other team was like the B team,
right,
or
right. So,
you know,
but
the
what I
the,
was getting
the
to is
F team.
they were so well prepared. They were. I think their system did work. Obviously,
Well, we're seeing it now,
having won so many of the gold medals over the years. I
and
know
we're seeing
French.
evolutions of it in the modern day
Oh yeah, yeah.
game.
Fred Shero, who was the then coach of the Philadelphia Flyers and the Broad Street Bullies run of Stanley Cups,
Hmm.
he went to Russia to study what they did and how they got picked up tips from watching them practice and play. The one thing I know he utilizes, as you know, watching the NHL and any hockey at any level. Well, mainly college and pro, I guess. I don't know if you do it too much in youth hockey, but power
Maybe in
play,
Minnesota, probably Minnesota.
power play, they like to set up behind the net.
I was
So,
gonna say Minnesota high school hockey is kind of like
well,
college
Minnesota high school
already.
hockey is a whole different animal, but yeah, they like to, you set up behind the net in your defensive zone, you break out.
Yeah,
That the Soviets never did that. The
they never did
Soviets,
it.
as soon as they got the puck, they turned it and went up the ice.
Up ice.
I mean, so they saved time. They didn't waste seconds on the power play skating back behind the net.
And it's attacking, and they um
There's just a flow to their
it,
style.
but they also were so far ahead of their time as far as respecting possession.
Hmm.
They would leave they would leave the offensive zone if it meant keeping possession of the puck.
Yes,
If they were in a
yes.
bad spot up against the blue line, it's better to pass the puck back to a defenseman who's already out of the zone
Hmm.
than to
Hmm.
try to keep that puck in and give up an odd man rush going the other way if things don't work out your way.
And something else I want to mention too, and I saw it playing the Sabres, watching the Sabres in the 70s and all the league, all the teams. Okay, players are able to be successful in the National Hockey League in the 70s that weren't great skaters. They
Mhm.
were good skaters, obviously, but they weren't great skaters like we
Phil
have now.
Esposito or Tony Esposito
Well,
couldn't hardly
Esposito
skate
was
at all.
yeah, well, even Phil wasn't the greatest skater. Um, but
Like
the
running on
Russians were
skates.
phenomenal skaters. So they really, really, took this notion that, okay, to play the game, you got to learn a different level or
You
you
have
got
to
to learn
learn
a
a different
different
method
method
of
of locomotion.
propulsion.
Yeah, of locomotion.
Yep.
And they were just phenomenal skaters on the edges and what have you, and backwards. And
And
so,
that I think
you
we've
know,
seen that really permeate the game because now slow teams get beat.
mhm. Well, now
Doesn't
every
matter.
yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're big and slow.
Now I would
If
say
you
the majority of skaters in the National Hockey League are great skaters, fast and very good on their skates, unlike what it was back in the day. So, and I'm not
remind
knocking those
you,
players. I mean,
yeah, no, I
that's
no,
what
I
you needed to
don't.
do. You didn't
You
need to
need
be an elite skater to be
you needed
successful
to
in the
be
NHL.
you could be tough and stand in front of the net and take
Hmm.
cross checks and score goals.
I'm just watching Darlene breaking out of the zone right now, and he's just flying. Well, they must have a power play, the Sabres.
Mm.
Um, but everybody's a good skater nowadays. But yeah, I think the Russians were really the ones that really pushed the envelope, and it made everybody better. Let's face it,
Well, look
especially in
how good
international
their best
competition.
players were when they came over here. We had our Mogilny episode very early on and
Hmm.
Echoes from the Arena, where we talk about Mogilny. Mogilny was a great skater. He could be a one-man breakout if he wanted to be. He zipped up and down the ice. The only thing that slowed him down was a degenerative, I think, hip issue,
Right.
arthritic hip issue. Who else comes over? Pavel Bure, one of the fastest players in the league,
Hmm.
right off the
Hmm.
rip.
And then, half the Red Wings roster were
Right.
Russians.
Mm-hmm.
With Fedorov,
They
Larionov,
had an entire five-man
Konstantinov.
unit. It's funny you
Yes.
mentioned the units because
Yes,
they had an
exactly.
entire five-man unit
They
that was
did.
all played in the Soviet system, all for the Red Army team, but not all at the same time. It was Larionov, Fedorov, Kozlov, and on defense, Fetisov and Konstantinov, who
Hmm.
unfortunately passed away in a limousine accident in the 90s, I think.
Now, were they all on were they all on the trip at the same time?
Yeah,
Okay, because they played together at the same time. That
yeah.
they were, I
They
believe they were,
played. They
I
were on
believe
the ice at the same
they
time.
were on the ice at the same time. I think that whole philosophy was adapted or adopted by the Red Wings. So,
It's interesting that you brought that up because I hadn't even thought of that they did play a lot because they won a cup with them
hmm. Hmm.
and Iserman and,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
yeah, no, they were.
and co.
This was something the Soviets felt very strongly that a five-man unit would be better than you know interchanging defense pairings with forward lines and what have you.
To have five guys that know where the other four are going to be as
Hmm.
opposed to one
Hmm.
guy knowing where the other two are going to be or one man knowing where the other guy is going to be, hopefully.
And if you really know each other and you practice as a unit in practice, your guys are getting guys cycle better.
Yeah,
They
it's
just
just
know,
crisper.
the passing is so crisp because they've worked endlessly.
They know how heavy a pass should be,
Hmm. Yeah.
how weighted it should be, timing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too long because we've already actually gone quite a while. Um, but I did want to ask you one other question, and now it's starting to escape me, and that sucks because I thought it was a good question. But I think it's going to escape me. It's when we were talking about the five-man unit of
Yeah.
Fedorov,
Yeah.
Kozlov, Larionov, and then Konstantinov and Fetisov. Hmm. Oh, yes. Okay. You took me to the Maple Leaf Gardens for a game,
Hmm. Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
It was Red Wings. I was a Red Wings fan at the
Yep.
time. I was still a
Yep.
Sabres fan, but I like
Yep.
Sergei Fedorov.
And
Do
Fedorov. Yep.
you remember what happened in that game?
I do not. No,
Fedorov played defense the entire game.
that's right. You're right.
They were
Yep.
missing defensemen.
They had injuries. Yeah.
And if you think about the preconceived notions of the Russian player, the preconceived notion is that they're poor defensively.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, maybe players develop habits, and now there are players that were not in the Soviet system.
Right. Right.
But I wonder, like, you took a borderline elite forward and you just played him on defense for all.
Right.
And I don't
Right.
even think that's the only game he played on defense. I think he played on defense a couple games before that because I
Right.
think that he had been announced as a defenseman, and I never saw him play defense again
Right. Right.
after that little stretch. But that's a lot of, you got to be really on top of your game to be able to go from forward to defense. I can see going from defense to forward, but going the other way seems insane to me. I thought it was so interesting, even though he wasn't going to be in a position to score as much.
Right. Right.
But
I now that you mentioned, I do remember that now. Yeah, I know they had they were short defense because of injuries and
but of all the players on that team, I mean, he did win a Selke, I think, for best defensive forward one year.
yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, I think
but
coming out of the
still
system,
playing defense and play. Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Is I
coming out of the
think
system,
maybe coming out of the system is why because if wingers and defensemen are interchangeable, yes, he's a centerman, but a centerman can play wing.
like
A
I always told
centerman
you,
just knows everything.
like I always told you guys, when you were young to play defense, if you were, if you want to get on the ice, play defense. Because let's face it, little kids, they all want to
They all want to
be,
score.
they want to score, they want to be forwards
Yeah.
and what have you. And I told you an age to play defense because A, coaches are always looking for people to play defense. B,
You
you
get
become
more
a
ice
better,
time.
well-rounded player. You
Yeah.
see the game from a defensive point of view, and it's much easier to teach defensemen to be wingers and forwards
Mhm.
than the other way around, with the exception of Fedorov, which I think is the fact that the system taught them that.
And he was an all around, a well rounded player.
Right,
The only thing he really didn't have was a heavy physical nature, but even, when brawls went down, he wasn't not
right,
going in there. Um, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that about telling us to be defensemen, because I think I always wondered if, that one year of high school hockey I played, if that was, if I, and I could say that I had a pretty decent season. I just didn't play again because of the risk of injury and how that would affect other sports that I had played.
right,
But I'd
right,
always wondered if me playing defense um, much of my time in sports and peewees and midgets and bantams led me to being a better defensive forward, because that's the position that I was playing in high
right,
school, was more of a checking forward.
right.
Um, I think just probably because of defensive responsibility and being aware of it. So, all right,
Very good.
we've rambled long enough.
Yep,
Um,
very good. Good show.
did you have anything you wanted to close with? We're not sure quite what the next show is going to be. We'll discuss when it will be. We are out of the Olympic season. We are getting ready for what pitchers and catchers have reported.
No, they've already started exhibition games,
Like I give a
so
shit.
they're
Sorry, I'm
so
just
we
not a
might do some
baseball guy.
baseball,
We
something
will do
baseball
some
related.
baseball. I'll have to read
Um,
up on some damn baseball.
I know you're doing you want to do that show on the Invincibles, which we're
Well, let's see what
trying to
happens
hook
over
up
the
with a third
next.
party.
Yeah,
So when we
right.
can do that, we'll do that show because we got we're in the midst of the Premier League
Hmm.
season, and we
We do
also
have the draft coming up.
got the
Remember,
draft. We've
I had
got
that
the
idea. Remember that idea of the draft
yep,
idea?
yeah.
Yeah.
We got the draft, and we got the men's tournament, well, the basketball NCAA basketball tournament
Hmm.
coming up. So I haven't watched a lot of college basketball this year, but especially with the Olympics the
I
last 2 weeks.
started
But
watching a little bit last night.
I see the usual suspects are up at top,
Yeah.
like Michigan is three, Duke is number one. Who we'll see.
Yep. All right. So, sorry. Hold on. I want to sign off appropriately, not with peanuts in my mouth. Ah, anyway, so we will please look on YouTube for our page, as well as Apple Podcasts, and Podbean is the app that you can find it on Android. If you like what you hear, please tell your friends. We would like more people to listen. Um, if we don't get more listeners, it won't stop us from making shows.
We're
It's
still going to
just, it
do
is
it.
what it is.
We're gonna find those
Um,
listeners.
but so we will keep you posted. So check the show notes on Facebook. That's where we're still housing everything. So for Greg, this is Matt, and signing off with a hearty be better men's team. You got to be fucking better.